Welcome to Women in Screen podcast from Centre Film School. In this series, we speak to women who have shaped the screen industries through their work and on and off screen. Today, I'm joined by Lisanne Falk, an actress known for roles in films including Heathers and Less Than Zero, who has recently returned to screen acting after some time away, a little disco nap.
I call it my mothering hiatus.
Yeah, wonderful.
The best role of my life.
Exactly. But yes, recently returned to the industry, which we're very excited about. So, Lisanne, thank you so much for joining us today.
Well, thank you for inviting me. I'm excited to be here.
Wonderful. So we're going to cover a few different areas, sort of going through your creative journey.
Okay.
And obviously we're going to finish up with your pearls of wisdom
yes.
for filmmakers and screen performers. Yeah, I know you've got plenty. So if we start off from the beginning, that's a good place to start usually.
A long time ago.
long ago.
Far away. I've really tried to think about how to move this process to the highlight reel.
Yeah.
Because it did start when I was 6.
Exactly, yes.
So I was discovered in my mother's shop that she worked in.
Oh, wow.
And because I was cute, apparently, at 6. And so this was in New York, where I grew up, in Long Island.
Mm-hmm.
And so this friend who came to the shop said, "Oh, she's so cute, she do commercials." So I went and met with someone who sent me on a commercial audition, and I got my first audition, which was beginner's luck, as one would have it. But then I started going on more auditions, and I didn't like it because I had to lie, and I'd come out going like, "Mom, I don't like this. They asked me if I like oatmeal, and I don't like oatmeal. I have to eat oatmeal," and I couldn't say yes. So we took a little break then, and then I started again at 10 when I was had a bit more confidence and felt better about lying, creative lying. And,
it's called acting, darling.
Exactly. Well, there is a difference.
Yeah,
we can get
true.
into that later.
Yes.
And when I was at one of these commercial auditions, somebody mentioned that Ford Models was opening a children's division, which Brooke Shields was the only person who was signed with them, and they were looking for other young women to, because in modeling it is mostly women, to come into this children's division. And that was what I really took a liking to at that point, because it was more about, I don't know, like dressing up and playing, and we did lots of, Brooke wasn't Brooke at that point, so we did lots of stuff for catalogs, for magazines. It wasn't like runway high fashion. We were basically kids. And then I started doing 17 magazine, and I got a couple covers, and that was fun. And I never thought about acting. It wasn't, I kind of went back to that commercial thing. I felt very self-conscious being with a camera in front of me. And so I modeled all through high school, went to Europe and did some European modeling, which was really fun. And I was saving all my money to go to university, which I applied to. I was going to go to Emerson University because I wanted to be a broadcast journalist.
Cool.
Yeah.
And look, now you're here.
And that summer I went to go visit my sister who lived in Los Angeles. And I was my modeling agency had an agency there, but they mostly did acting stuff. So they were like, "Would you go on acting auditions?" And I was like, I can try, but I don't think I'm very good. And then I had that beginner's luck thing again, where I went on this audition and I got it. And let's be honest, it was mostly just because I was a cute teenager. And so then I ended up kind of going like, "Oh, this is kind of fun. Maybe I want to defer my university and learn how to act." And I like the idea of learning the process more. So that's exactly what I did. I ended up deferring university forever.
You chose the University of Life.
That was the university that I chose.
Yeah.
And I stayed, I was going back and forth between New York and Los Angeles for a while, but then I kind of stuck into Los Angeles, and I went to this 2-year Meisner acting school.
Wow.
And I mean, do we want to keep going? Because that's the acting because you want to talk about.
Just before we go on, I mean, I think, some people say that you make your own luck. I don't think you could have been that lucky. I think it must have been your talent that was shining through in those situations. But of course, luck is part of it. No, not at all.
Seriously, talent is, I mean, it is, you have to have something.
Yeah.
But there's tenacity. I find some of my most talented, we're going to the pearls of wisdom, but some of my most talented friends are the least successful because they just were crippled by their, self-doubt and their inability not to be perfect.
100%.
So I think that, luck or being, whatever that is.
I think, when we talk to our students, we say, like, when I'm doing, students say, what are you looking for in sort of an applicant in the school? I always say it's 10% inspiration, 90% perspiration. That's the reality of the creative industries, right? Just before we go on to the acting side of things, though, so you were, it's a 19, sorry, that apologies. Revealing it to We're talking sort of like...
It's never left.
No, we're talking like sort of late 70s into the early 80s ish.
The 80s is when I went out to.
When you went to Europe,
No. The early 80s when I went to Europe, but when I moved to Los Angeles, it was the late 80s.
Yeah. So that period just before that, so we're talking about the modelling days and the European days. Yeah. It would be great to get a little bit of insight from you. Like, how was that? What was that? Because obviously, you've come back into the creative industries. Like, we'll talk a little bit about the return later, but how was it then? Like, what was it like to be in that environment? We hear so much about things were fantastic. There were certain challenges. What was your experience?
So there's a different thing of when I was in it and then looking back in it. And so when I was in it, I absolutely loved it. I was fortunate. I never had any kind of awful things happen to me, or I was able to deflect any potential things that might have been felt off. Yeah. So I hung out with a lot of adults, and I felt really comfortable more so with adults than people my age. Yeah. And I loved, being in New York. New York was like Taxi Driver, New York.
Yeah. Totally different place.
It was real, not like the Times Square of today. You had to be ready. Like, I really felt like I was streetwise. I was like going in there. Nobody was going to mess with me. Yeah. And there's, something that I did that's come up a lot now, which is obviously a now and then situation, is when I was about 14, almost /15, I started traveling from Long Island, where I grew up, into New York, which is, like a 45-minute commute. And I told my mom, you don't have to come with me. I'm good, when I knew where I was going. So I had a job for cover of a Foreigner album. Yes. And I went in to do this shoot, and I was put into this men's urinal and given this little outfit, and I thought it was hilarious. I mean, I'd never been in a men's urinal. I was like, oh, this is what they look like. And I was like, the album was called Head Games, which has a double entendre. Yeah. But I honestly, I always call myself naive innocent, because I think, like, it wasn't like I didn't know what things were, but I didn't think there was anything. For me at that time, there was nothing wrong with it. And when I came home and showed my mother the photo, I'm like, oh, look at this, because they took Polaroids. And she was like, oh, but it was my agent set me on it. All the people were respectful, but you look back now and everybody goes, oh, how did you do that? And at that time, there just wasn't, I don't know. It feels like sometimes a cop-out to say it was a different time, but it really was a different time. And mostly I was the arm piece, especially when I was acting, I was the arm piece of the lead actor. Yeah. I was I was a model, so I was always the pretty girl. I didn't get to be the fun, quirky one. I had to always be the one with the, wear your short skirt to that audition in your tank top, or, whatever it was. Yeah. So at the time, I didn't think, oh, this is awful. I just was like, this is what it is.
But it was even at the time, there was some notoriety around the cover, right?
Oh, I mean, it was kind of but I think notoriety in a different way.
Yeah. So it was like publicity, it was publicity. It was really impactful, actually. Yes. Yeah. I was reading about some of the different interpretations of the cover, actually, today. And it's like,
Me too.
She was, yeah. Just what did I do? Yeah. But but I said, but your experience was broadly positive, right?
Yes, and I mean that is one
informative.
of the things, because I'm still friends with Brooke Shields
Yeah.
today. I don't have to say the whole thing. I think Brooke.
Yeah.
And we talk. Both of us have such a positive.
Yeah.
Like that time for us was, we loved it. We got
Yeah.
to travel. We got to pretend. We got to be made up and I don't know. It was, both of us enjoyed it and didn't have bad experience. And we do have friends who modeled with us, and they hated it.
Yeah.
They were like, "Oh, I'm objectified," and
Yeah.
I don't know. I just didn't. That wasn't
Yeah.
something at that time
Yeah.
that I felt. So.
And that's the important thing, right? Actually, how you feel at the moment. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's the essential thing. Other people can project their interpretation of what's happening on, but it's if you feel safe and you feel that actually you're enjoying it, then that's.
Well, then you second
that's
down. That's the whole thing. I'm like looking back, going, "Oh God, maybe I did. What did I do? What have I done?"
Yeah, but so you had a lot of success, and like you were a very young person working, and as you've gone to Europe, and then you move on to studying some Meisner.
Yes.
Excellent. So
I studied some Meisner.
Yeah. Oh, I studied some Meisner, right? Our acting degree sort of has a theoretical basis on Meisner and Stanislavski, generally speaking. Yeah.
Well, everything is, as I'm learning now, which is the later conversation. Everything is kind of intertwined, and whatever works for you.
Exactly.
That's what I think.
You have to find, it's a methodology that actually enables you to project that truth and live the truth of the actual experience, right?
If it's not there, sometimes it's just there.
Yeah.
If you're in the moment.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about your studies. How was that, and what did you get out of it?
Well, right before, so I won't skip it. So before I signed up for the acting school, because I'm going to be a serious actress, no auditioning during the 2 years.
Ah, really? Okay.
But before I signed up for the school,
yeah,
I had auditioned for this movie called Heathers.
Oh yeah,
like
that little itty bitty movie called Heathers. Yeah.
I then signed up for school, and a week later got a call that they wanted me to do a part in it, and it was going to conflict, and so thank goodness I trusted my instinct, because the teacher said, "You aren't ready to do a part, and you shouldn't do this, and this is exactly why I tell people not to do these things." And I went and did it anyway. So I'm glad I made that decision.
Yes.
And then after, when I was finished shooting, because it wasn't a long shoot, it was a month.
Wow, really?
Yeah. It was
top to toe.
Yeah.
Wow, amazing. Yeah.
30-day shoot.
Yeah.
I got back in.
Yeah.
And I auditioned the whole time.
Cool. So actually you went back after that, you went back in. Okay, cool.
Yes,
Okay. I'm going to come on to Heather's
I know.
in a minute
That's
or
why
two.
everything's intertwined.
No, but it's
I'll try to stick on.
No, that's absolutely perfect.
I love the acting school experience, and that was my, that was my experience, and I was with a group of people that we were together, and that our teacher made pretty much like 90% of the class go to therapy. That was the first time I went to therapy, because at the time, we're like, what does she mean? But it was about accessing. Like, at that time, for me, I didn't know how to get angry. That wasn't something. I just knew how to get really sad. And she's like, you can't be an actor if you can't get angry. And I'm like, why? Okay. So that was actually, I think, a positive thing, because getting to know yourself and what makes you tick, and figure out why you respond to things in your own unique way. And just going through, I just felt I loved it. I loved the creativity and all the rehearsals, and having having a process that I knew that I could rely on, when I got my.
Yeah, which you can access. The process, so you can access the emotion. Okay, well, look, let's go on to talk a little bit about Heather. So obviously, I'm a 44-year-old gay man, so like it's like the Bible for us. So not to generalize, but that's the truth. So you received the script. Like, what really excited you about the script when you first? What drew you in? Or maybe what was your initial reaction when you received this?
So the first thing I got was sides, because usually in an audition, especially before I had any established credits, I would just get the sides, and I'd have to go pre-read for a casting director and see if they thought I was worth wasting. I mean, sorry, bringing back.
Yeah,
for the
taking one of the
producer.
slots for the director producer.
So
yeah.
I got an audition for this role, and it was Heather #1, and I read this, and I'm like, this is hilarious. I thought it was hilarious. I just instantly thought the dialogue. I was like, I've never read anything. This dialogue is hilarious. I love this. And one of the things at the time is they were very set. Michael Lehman, who's the director, and Daniel Waters, who wrote it, they really wanted real teenagers because they didn't want to have, at the time, it was all the John Hughes movies and a lot of the like kind of Porky's type, raunchy sex comedies, and they use like 30-year-old actors who just you're like, I don't think so. So I was at the time 23, but I looked fairly youthful.
Yeah.
And they were allowed to ask your age at the time. So I was just like, oh God, I'm just going to go. I have to lie. Like that was what I was more nervous about, lying about my age.
Just sweating.
It's you can't help it.
Yeah.
As soon as you tell someone your age, there's a bias. And if I said 23, they would have been like, yeah.
Yeah.
So I went in, and that was like, I got past that hurdle. And then they had me come back right away in that afternoon. And then I read for Heather, which I didn't remember until I did a podcast with my fellow actor who played my boyfriend in the movie, Patrick Laberto.
Oh, cool.
And he was he reminded me of a bunch of stuff that I didn't remember. But I went in and read for Heather Duke.
Okay.
And then basically I kept telling my agent, did you hear anything? And I didn't get the part. But then I said, can you just, I want to be in this movie. I will do anything in this movie. It's like nothing I had ever read and whatever. So they offered me the part of Country Club Courtney. And I was like, no problem, I'm in. And then the week before shooting, the person they cast as Heather McNamara dropped out, and they offered me that part.
Well, that sounds like a really Heather moment, actually. Did you rip open your pearl necklace as she was trying to go down the stairs? Scatter.
Yeah, it was just. But this is now my in my philosophy of life. I just and again saying there's only one person who can get a part. That doesn't mean that you thought, oh, I wasn't good enough. I was sorry. You just have people have a vision that they have or they have to get for certain reasons sometimes. So, but I do feel like that was obviously somehow meant to be, because I felt like that was, out of all the Heathers, that is the Heather that I would align with most. I was you're the nicest Heather. Yeah. I don't know if that's like they say like the smartest football player. I guess.
Relativism. Yeah.
But yes. So I did. That was a amazing moment, and I went in and got my screen test and makeup test, and they made my hair yellow, and then they dyed my eyebrows, and I looked really funny because they wanted them all light, and I got yellowified.
Yeah, but that transformation is actually really important for some actors as well. The physical transformation is part of becoming the actor, or part of becoming the character, right?
Oh, for me, I'm all about the outfit.
No, but the read Macbeth and the clothes make it the man. And we in Ireland we say what's for you when past you. So I think that obviously was that moment for you as well.
Yeah, definitely. I like that one.
Amazing. Steal it.
You have to remember it.
So obviously Heather's, you mentioned you'd never read anything like this before. It was so distinctive at the time. And it was sort of like, it was sort of, people have talked about it being sort of like a part of the sort of round one of the the culture wars in terms of like representation of cool crowds and sort of like sex and
that cafeteria, the opening scene in the cafeteria, that's like one of my favorite scenes in the movie. And I think sometimes when younger people watch it today, they've seen that a billion times now. And maybe it was done, I don't remember it being done before, but the way it was done of very specifically stopping at each table and defining who this clique was. I thought Dan, I mean, he's got a very unique mind, and also one of the things we talk about with the dialogue, a lot of times the dialogue at the time was like awesome and rad. There was like a lot of valley talk going
California
on, but his dialect, like Calvary, it just meant it was his. It was a made up one, so that's why I think it transcends
and became like it became culture. It became a culture of a genuinely cultural moment. And those things are still being repeated. And I think actually in a way, it has, you know, we've seen that kind of that shot again, but it still resonates so strongly. But it hadn't been in sort of the, you know, the screen culture before. It was a really unique thing, and obviously it was, you know, it was a teen movie, but it wasn't like 16 Candles, right?
Well, just on that, the concept of Heather. No, Heather.
Yeah.
Heather. You know, like, because everyone knows a Heather.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And if it's not a Heather, if it's in a different country, maybe there's different names for those people, but we all know
that archetype.
Yes, that archetype.
Yeah. And it was so dark. It was so satirical. It was so different, as we say, to films of that era. Excuse me. How did it feel? Like, how did it feel working on something that was pushing the genre boundaries so strongly? Or were you aware of that at the time when you were on set? Did you know, like, were you there and you had this feeling, this is going to be so impactful, like this is going to be a cultural moment?
I would probably say that we all the people that worked on it loved it.
Yeah.
And that is why they were there. It was Michael Lehmann's first feature, Daniel's first screenplay that he got produced. Denise Denovi, who's a massive producer, went on to work with Tim Burton and done amazing things. It was her first producing job, I think her first feature. And then all the actors in it had done some like Winona had done a lead in a movie. That was her first lead. Christian Slater's first lead. Shannon Doherty had been on television, and it was one of her first kind of movie roles.
Yeah.
So I think that for everybody, we all were kind of like, oh, this is different than what we had all been auditioning for and had seen. But I don't know, that movie at the time when it came out it wasn't a box office success.
Yeah, it sort of, dare I say, it failed at the box office
totally
commercially initially, right? Yeah.
I mean, it was made for peanuts. I believe it was like $3 million.
Yeah.
And it didn't recoup at all.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until kind of the video store phenomenon came, and it ended up being on the, like, this is the store person.
Yeah. But
this is the pick or whatever.
The choice,
really
exactly. Staff choice.
Momentum later. Obviously cult status.
Yeah.
And I think, maybe in those things it just didn't have enough reach at that time to get out, or maybe it was before its time, or
but it was that uniqueness, wasn't it, in a way, and it was a teen movie, but it couldn't be sort of thematically or tonally pitched in with what people were familiar with in terms of John Hughes, and
it was very divisive.
Like
as here they go Marmite, it was like people loved it or hated it, which I think is that is a win. Because if everybody likes something, then you kind of like, okay.
I think the kids call that mid. If everyone likes it, it's like mid now.
Mid.
I have a young colleague is nodding at me and agreeing, saying that's
probably something else now. I'm sure they've moved on from mid. So I think that making it did. We all hoped it was something special, but I think even now, because I get together a lot with Michael and Dan, and we do screenings all different places, and we just we're still talking about this movie. Like, that is not at all what we thought, and especially I think at the time people kept saying it was a movie about suicide, and that is the last thing it's about. That was just the veneer of it. It had nothing to do with that, and I think really only just one person. I don't even know if anybody commits suicide. I think it's murder. So someone attempts suicide. I attempt suicide, but nobody ever actually. It's they're killed. So it's not about suicide, and it wasn't about. I mean, I think that's what is interesting to see that people get. And that you could sit there and be offended, as you say, like, oh, I'm that gay person, like, because it's like, oh, I love my dead gay son. Like, you could take that offense to that, or you could go, oh my God, it's not about being gay, it's about the parents. And,
but in many ways, it's a metaphor, it's an allegory for societal norms, and those forces within society, and actually, and the self-destructive forces, and sort of the hypocrisy within, civilized
hypocrisy.
Hypocrisy. I'm using my big boy words now. In terms of being an actor on that set, was there was there any sort of, because this is one of your first things as well, right?
Yeah, it was my first kind of like
lead,
I was a co-star. But for me,
a feature film lead, and co-lead. Were there any, did you take anything away particularly from in terms of your craft, let's say, as an actor?
Well, I learned. That was where I pretty much learned everything about. They were nice enough, and I just went to the set every day, even when I wasn't working, because I was just like, I just want to be on the set.
Amazing.
And so I just learned what everybody on the crew did. So for me, it was like my film school.
Yeah.
I learned about eye lines and camera positions and how to, don't give it, I had my big emotional scene, like I gave it all in the wide shot. Damn, wait a minute, I have to wait. I gotta hold out on that. Like I gotta hold some back. Pull in. Yeah. So I learned that was all, my learning curve, I guess. And also most of the stuff that I did in my close-ups, because I was with all of the people who were actually underage and had to go to school, I was doing with a script supervisor.
Yeah.
So everything was I that was definitely I hadn't thought about that, but it was my film school.
And then how was it so you went to your sort of apprenticeship on set, film school, and then you went back to acting school, and how was that actually, and how did it meld? Was it contradictory? Did they feed into each other? Because it's a slightly unusual trajectory in a way.
Yeah, I guess because what I did, I didn't have a technique per se. I didn't have a technique. Not per se. Who am I kidding? I didn't have a technique, but I found
it was naturalistic.
I had my script, and I went through just from I had read all my books, my Stanislavski. I had read all the books, and I did go through, and I had a character breakdown that I wrote and a history. And my biggest, I would say, for me at that time, what I used, and I still use to this day, is music. So I had it was my Walkman that I had on a playlist on my mixtape. And I had songs that I would listen to get me in a mood, I guess. Ready for the whatever that day was going to be. So going back, so I did enjoy afterwards learning, I don't know, I just felt like I was a proper thespian going back and learning my craft and having those tools. But with every learning experience, like the more you know, the less you know, it is also that, to this day, I'm like, oh God, I wish I the more I know, the less I know. So.
But that's an open-mindedness, right?
Yes.
Okay, that's one of the only good things about getting more mature is that you realize that there's loads to learn out there, right? That's an optimistic outlet.
No, it's true. It is true. But when you're younger, you just it's all about the you're impatient and want to get there, and I'm trying not to. I'm not going to go ahead. I won't talk about it.
We'll get to that in a moment. And I just want to refer back to something as well that I sort of made a little joke about. You said you didn't like to lie earlier on, and I was like, that's acting, darling. Of course, we know that's not true because good acting and good performance is emotional truths. So just from a craft perspective, actually, so how do you get to the emotional truth of a character? And has that changed over time? You talked a little bit about your work.
That has massively changed. So I think that I was all about, and because the limitation of the roles I was going up for, I wasn't really going up for terribly challenging roles, I would say, for, all the roles that I was going up for were, the cute the cute girlfriend or the hot girlfriend or whatever. It wasn't, so it was much more about being me. So I was trying to probably imbue it after learning my technique with way too much stuff. But I did tons of, I don't know what they call them here, but they're called movie of the weeks. I did a lot of those. That was what I seemed to book, and almost every character. Just explain for the audience what movie of the week is. So movie of the week is it's a 2-hour movie that's usually on a Friday or Saturday night in America, and your whole family sits around, and it's based on sometimes a true story, or it wasn't a mini series because the mini series were like Roots and the Thornbirds. They were the bigger epic things. Yeah. But so I don't know, what would be the equivalent? Did you have something like that, like a Friday night movie or? Yeah, I don't think that they.
in
But
the
made
UK
for
and
TV,
Ireland,
so they
yeah,
were-
they didn't do as many made for
Yeah.
TV movies. It was
Yeah.
usually here. It would be kitchen sink dramas that would it would just
Okay.
drudgery of like grey weather
Yeah.
and living in the UK.
Yeah.
Where in the US they tend to
Yeah.
be a little bit more glamorous and romantic
Well,
in a way.
every single one, I think
Yeah.
that I mean, the number of times that I did actually kind of kill myself or be in like tears, like I did.
Yeah.
I usually got those roles.
Heightened
I was
drama.
very good at that. That I can look like just bereft and
Yeah.
really just embrace my inner,
So opposite to your persona, though, you know?
But I mean, it is interesting because I was like, damn, I played a really good victim. I have to go back to therapy.
Yeah.
It's like, what was going on?
What am I accessing?
Yeah, what am I doing?
And what about, so you felt that it was let's say you were playing not such psychologically complex characters, and so how has that changed now? And we're going to segue and take a break in a moment.
Yeah, so I think what's exciting for me now, because obviously I don't have to be the I have no
The
option.
ingenue.
I'm not the ingenue,
No,
okay?
but that's-
And
yeah.
I'm really okay with that.
Yeah.
So I've been having so many fun auditions. Like I have NDAs on all these things. It makes me laugh. Like everything is top
Yeah.
secret. But I had this role where I had to be, like this horrible woman at a wedding who's super patronizing and but for me then the challenge was, so what I try to do now is I try to find that part of myself. And so yes, I'm generally nice and fun and I laugh a lot, but I can pull out the patronizing
There's
tone.
stuff there.
I got it there.
You got stuff to access. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
So for something like that, it's a lot more fun that to try to find that, and not to just like, oh, I'm playing patronizing and doing that like a caricature of it, to go like, oh, when is that for me?
Yeah.
And who are the people? Like I work a lot with substitution, so when especially I'm doing self-tapes in my room opposite mostly other actors on my iPad. I don't have people there.
Yeah.
So that is most of the acting that I'm doing. Desperate to get back on a film set and actually, try all the stuff out for real. But so in the audition process, just having, trying to not do what I think they want, but what I think my part of me that I could make it maybe fun or different or interesting.
Yeah, great. Okay, we're going to take a little bit of a break and we'll be back in a moment. Okay, and we're back for part 2 with Lisanne. So we're going to move forward now. So you had an incredible experience on Heather's and loads of productions. Really interesting to hear about your Friday night movies.
Yeah, my Friday night movies.
Yeah,
exactly.
A wonderful experience and like a really iconic part of actual visual storytelling in the US as well. So we were just chatting slightly in the break. So you're now in your encore. You said your third act.
My third act. It's okay. I'm good with it.
So how does that feel? So obviously you worked really extensively up until about 2002. Yeah. You moved over to the UK.
I had a baby first.
Had a baby.
And then I moved to the UK.
Okay.
And then I couldn't work. That was my excuse anyway. But it was nice to have a break and just kind of be anonymous. Not like I was, but I'm just saying I was. I just was a wife and mother, a devoted wife and mother, and it was great. I loved it. Yeah. And probably, it was in like 2018 when I was looking for something to do with my husband. I saw that they were doing a workshop of Heather's the musical.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
So I was like, oh, we should just go show up. That would be really funny. It is in London. And so I called to get tickets, and they were like, oh, sorry, we're sold out. And I'm
excuse me?
Yeah, I was like, oh. I said, is there anybody there, like, from the production, like, and the producers? It was a pretty small theater. Yeah. And they're like, no, sorry. And then I'm never like this. I wouldn't be like, oh, it is. So I was like, okay, fine. And so then after that, I contacted this person who had anyway, this publicist who had asked me to do something for the musical a couple of years back when they had done it in New York.
Yeah.
And I wrote and I said, I saw this thing and they told me it sold out. I'd love to go. I'm going to be in town. Anyway, I showed up at the workshop. They were so excited to have me, and I've had a really close relationship with the producer and director and every single cast that they've done.
Wow.
That they've had. I've kind of been like a little cheerleader. Because it was in the UK that it became a huge hit. It wasn't a huge hit
really?
When they did the first iteration of it in New York. It was off Broadway, and it did fine. It was okay. But here, it was zeitgeist. It was kind of crazy, and all the young people were just so into it, and they didn't know at first. That's why they did this workshop, because they were like, we don't know if it'll translate. It's very American. We're not sure how the youth today, and it was crazy. And I mean, audiences, they ended up transferring to the West End, and people would dress up and cosplay like Heathers and throw scrunchies at the stage, and so that was kind of put me back out of in the limelight again, because they kept inviting me to the premieres, and then they would always be like, there's a Heather from the film. People look and be like, oh my God. And then that also coincided with the 30th anniversary, and they did a huge screening at BFI here.
2019? 1819?
It was the summer of 2000. I think it was 2019.
Yeah.
And Michael and I did that together, and it was a sold out. The BFI theater's so nice, the movie screen.
Yeah.
And that, I had so much fun. I thought I was going to be terrified, because I'd just been, a mom in Surrey. Surrey mom, living in my little village. And it was just fun. It was fun to see that. I hadn't watched the movie in a while, and they restored it into this amazing 4K.
Yes.
And I did this little kind of behind the scenes documentary for Arrow Video, which is, they're great. So that kind of, I was like, this is kind of, I like doing this. And I was trying to figure out, I wasn't thinking about acting, but I was like, maybe I could. A lot of younger people would always come up and just ask me about, acting and Heathers and things like that. And I loved kind of talking to younger people and, I don't know, just imparting whatever.
Pearls of wisdom.
Pearls of wisdom, whatever it was. Mostly giving it to myself and trying to convince myself. So basically I did that for a couple of years, and then when my son went off to university, I was like, okay, what am I going to do? And I started looking around to acting in the UK, in London. Yeah. I had zero network here. And
because it is totally separate in
totally
that sense,
separate.
Actually,
And the couple of people that, like Michael and Dan, I asked the few people I know, I'm like, do you know anybody here? And they're like, not really. Or they knew people that were so huge, like, I'm not going to, CAA isn't going to be like, we want to sign you on after your 20-year hiatus. So I basically started looking at Spotlight, and I signed up for to be on that platform because I had credits. Yeah. And I won a life coaching. This is my favorite story. I won, I never win anything, and I won a life coach. I don't even know what I've been to therapy. I didn't know what a life coaching was.
Sorry, just to clarify, you are going to be receiving the coaching.
Yes.
Amazing.
I won a life coaching when I signed on to Spotlight.
Oh, amazing.
I had 5 sessions with a life coach.
Amazing.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then I was like, that's good, because I kind of don't know what the hell I'm doing. And I don't really know what a life coach does. And it was, I met this wonderful, and she happened to be American, and she just moved here. And I said, I just, I need to do something, and I really miss creativity in my life. And, talking, I said, I mean, maybe I could go talk at schools to young people. And then she's like, what are you talking about? She's like, you need to go back into acting. It's so obvious. And I'm like, really? And she said, yeah. And I said, oh, okay. Well, maybe I guess if you're telling me that's what I need to do.
Well, then I just have to do it.
She's like, what's the path? She's like, it's all there. That's what you need. Because I was talking about, I love being on film sets. So anyway, I just was kind of like, okay. And then she helped me come up, what are the steps you're going to take to do that? I was like, oh, Jesus. So it literally was starting from zero.
Building the foundations again.
Building all again, yeah. And it was kind of cathartic, because I had to go back in and really think about what what I wanted, who I wanted to be, and be kind of the version of myself that I guess I wish I had the confidence to be when I was younger.
Yeah. That's really, really interesting. And so we're talking an almost, let's say, 18 to 20 year gap actually between between being a practitioner. So tell us a little bit about how things, the differences, how things have changed actually in terms of the process, because there's huge changes, right, within that period.
It's a huge change. It's like everything is huge and then also the same, like at the root. It's both.
But that's it. So tell us exactly that, because it's different, but it's the same. Yeah.
It's like that, everything.
Yeah.
So the first thing, so then COVID hit.
Yeah,
so then I had all this time to kind of do a lot of online research, and then things became available online.
Yeah.
So the first thing I did was, I'm going to go back and see if my acting teacher, who I studied with, not the Meisner technique, but I had a master scene class that I did in Los Angeles, which every actor, you always go on when you're not working and do a scene. So you throw up a scene, so you're constantly,
exercising the muscle.
Like going to the gym. So I looked online, and Howard Fine was my teacher, and he was doing an online class, and I was like, I'm going to sign up for this class. It's kind of like, I don't know what I was thinking. So here I was in not having done any kind, always loved film, television, always have my opinions about things and watching and seeing what people are doing. So I signed up for this class, and it was kind of like riding a bike, but then all the self-taping stuff was completely new. So obviously I'm having a class where I'm on a Zoom call, and it was very funny. It was very LA to me, because I wanted to do rehearsals with some of the other people in class before I was going to do it, and nobody was really there. So then I'm like, okay, this is kind of, I'm doing my best. So I'd have, someone like my husband was reading with me. That wasn't working out so great, or, so I was trying different things. And then I realized from that, and it was nice. Howard's like, oh yeah, Lisanne, or he just saying it wasn't, but it was, I was like, I got back on the horse, basically, or the bike, and then I was
depending on the time period, I got back on the motorbike.
And then I was like, I need to learn how to self-tape. Obviously, because that was how all the auditions were. So I did on the Spotlight is, I feel like I'm promoting them, but they had great workshops online. So it's
a great resource.
It was great. I did every kind of thing that they had event online. I just would listen and hear what the industry was like now, what the people were saying, and I did a self-tape class. It was all the technical stuff, which was great. So I learned, that was my first skill that I learned, and I'm still tweaking and perfecting, but I think I have a pretty good home studio now.
And but actually that's become an essential thing for all actors, and it was moving in that direction before COVID, but COVID absolutely catalyzed that, where it is, I've got some actor friends who have been working in the industry, and it is the standard. You have to do it, and actually you have to have basic technical skills now as an actor to do a decent self-tape.
So this is the new technical thing that isn't about acting, it's about self-taping, and I'm kind of taking people at face value when they say, oh, you don't have to have anything fancy, and we just need to see you and hear you. But I think it's really helpful. I got like a backdrop. And none of it is, it's a lot cheaper than taking a train. Like all of it is a couple of train rides for auditions. So people are like, I don't want to spend the money. But I'm just like, well, I used to get in my car and have gas, when I was in Los Angeles, I have to pay for petrol. So it isn't it doesn't have to be a huge expense, but it was finding the right place in my house where I had the best, like natural light is by far the best. So I always try to do my tapes during the day, because I have this one window that the light is
so you're not using a ring light, actually, you're using natural light.
Ring lights are terrible. They make you look like you have robot eyes. That was one of the first things they said, don't use, because they almost like, you see that ring light in your eye. So I didn't use ring lights. I have 2 LED soft, they're fake softbox lights that I have like a mesh thing over. So when I do have to, it gets dark at 3:30 in the winter. So
sorry about England.
I do have that set up. I don't like it as much. And then I got a decent mic. My first mic was a little lav mic.
Yeah.
And it had a lot of, with
Crackle.
the person that was taping,
Yeah.
you couldn't hear them, and I had to
Yeah.
learn how to boost, but I know how to edit now.
Yeah.
And so I feel like
Yeah.
it's like a skill I kind of have. I try to look at it like it's a fun, like I'm directing myself in
Yeah.
something.
And how do you like, how does that because there's a lot of, I mean, it is what it is now. It's
Yeah.
the status quo, but actually there's still a lot of conversation about, you know, the immediacy of an in-person audition, and some people actually sort of are mourning the loss of the in-person audition. You
Both.
know, well, that's
Both of the things are true.
Yeah.
But I have both of them. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No,
but it's
no,
true.
no.
Like I try to stay positive about like it is the fact, so I have to do it.
That's it.
I just know that so I looked at my old Filofax diary.
Nice.
And when I was in my heyday in Los Angeles, I had 140 auditions in a year.
Okay.
That's like a lot of, that's a lot of auditions. Some days I was going,
Insane.
I had 3 in a day, and I was
But learning
driving.
the lines, like, as if
But I didn't have, you never memorize lines. So you never memorize
fine.
lines until you were on the like final callback
Fine.
with the, like honestly.
But it's impossible
you'd sit
because you're
there,
doing
you'd
so
get
many.
Your thing,
Yeah.
You'd be in the thing, and basically you walked in the room, right away they knew if they
They
liked
want
you or
you or
not.
not.
And then they hoped you were going to read the thing right.
Yeah.
I'm 100%, and I still believe that. So I don't mind the self-tape thing because I still think that's true. And I think I get auditions where the age range is 40 to 70, any gender, any ethnicity.
I'm in.
I'm so in there. I'm like, this is like a roulette reel. Like,
Yeah,
really?
exactly.
I mean, when I used to walk in a room and there were like 20 cute blondes in lady dresses.
Yeah.
So I don't know which is worse. I mean, it's all.
And why do you think that? Like, is that because directors are becoming more open-minded about casting in terms of they're trying to sort of really actively not have a pre-visualized, potentially sort of like unconsciously biased image of what they want to see on screen, or is it just literally like they're like, it's either a ghost or an elephant, I can't decide.
I
What do you
think that because the roles, unless something is in a script where it's integral to, which is even sometimes that isn't the case, like, you know, where what your skin color or what your age is, like it has to be a certain thing. I think they are, and casting people are really pushing for that. I think they're trying to be open-minded as like, why do we have it in our heads, and why can't the cast be rounded out to include, you know, diversity like it is in
society,
the real world. So I think it's positive, but it's all, I have to have a good sense of humor about it, because I'm just like, now the spectrum of what I'm up against is
broad.
Is very broad. It's very broad.
A range of excellence to be dealing
and that
with.
is really when I have to go in and just kind of bring it on, like whoever is me. Or me within the scope of that character, because that may or may not stand out. So I think for first round, because I'm going to get back to what you asked me, I think for first round, I'd much rather just have a tape, because they're going to look, and apparently, they all go, no, we watched the whole tape. The other people, like, we watched 10 seconds. Like, if right away they're kind of like, oh, we're not going in this direction.
Then I've saved myself a train journey, right?
So I'm going like, So, and then, I mean, the first role that I booked since I've been back, I got a guest star in a procedural, and they booked it off my tape.
Oh, wow, really?
So I didn't even there was no such thing as a recall or going back or meeting anyone.
No chemistry read.
No chemistry read. It was shocking. I mean, talking about then and now, because it was a TV job, and normally, there's lots of downtime in your trailer and your things. This was boom, 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 and I'm so glad. Like, at first I'm like, oh, I don't want to do this, and I'm like, so glad I did it, because they had 3 cameras shooting all the different coverage of everybody at the same, and it was boom, come in for rehearsal, hi, blah, 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 not lots of small talk, they just move these things along. Again, it was like relearning
the modality on set.
On set. But I do miss, that is what I miss, and what I want to get back to, it's like I want the community of meeting people and then having that. I think there is something I don't get to show what is my personality, because usually you'd have the 5 minutes to be like, oh, how was your thing, and you could, I don't know, if you're relaxed and you can be you. I miss that, and especially because I'm just like, oh, I'm just doing these auditions aren't acting, but I'm trying to find a creative way to And also use it as a way, I mean, the biggest thing for me is use it as a way to, you know, come back on my terms and do those things instead of looking at, you know, they call paper pleasing, you know, like looking at it and like, I used to go like, I know exactly what they want. I'm going to give them exactly. And now I'm like, I'm going to give them what I want.
Yeah. Well,
within the confines, it has to be true to the script. You can't just do some of my actor friends are like, oh, I'm going to be bold. And I'm like, why are you throwing that ball up in here? That makes zero sense.
But it's that classic Laurence Olivier thing. It's like, how can I make the character more interesting? Give him a limp.
But there's like trying to figure out what does a bold choice really mean, because it does still have to mean something within the context of the story, and you have to serve, you know, especially if you're the person who's working opposite the lead or the big name. You're not. It's not about you.
You have to serve the overall tale. Okay, just that's really, really interesting. Just before we go on to the pearls of wisdom, obviously you've worked now extensively in the US, in LA and New York, of course, and in London as well. Just briefly, like, are there any actual stark differences between the screen industries or the creative industries here and there? Are they the same? Has that changed over the time period, do you think?
So I think, well, LA is not the center of the universe anymore, for sure. And that was why I went there. And I mean, I don't like to talk about, what regrets do you have? But I'm a New Yorker through and through. Even living here, I love living in London, but my heart is like, I'm a New Yorker. Like I go to New York, I start to walk fast and get my little New York tough chick accent on and whatever. And I always go like, why did I move I should have stayed in New York. Like I think I would have found my authentic self. There.
It's a really different scene though in New York and LA. Like even then
it was you were more, and that was like I kind of go like what anyway. But it everything is a journey. So I don't really know what those places are like now. I mean, I do have some friends who are still in the industry, but I do know for sure LA is not the center of the universe. I have loved it in London, and when I did get back after my COVID online experience, I started going to different in-person. So first I did audition technique classes just to be like, oh, what is it like to be in front of people? It's all of a sudden I didn't think I'd be nervous, but I'm like, I haven't acted in front of anybody. You know, what is that like? So I started doing classes like basically like the gym again, where you go every week. And I met such like actors from 18 years old up until 80. Like some people going and like, I've never done this. It was my dream. And
cool.
And everybody's really nice, and that is how I found or got an agent because the other actors, so everybody is so well
through those sessions. That's so cool.
So I'm just like, they're like, you don't have an agent? I'm like, no, I don't even know how to like. What do I do? How do I do? Like what do I call? They're not going to like respond to an email or do whatever. And so like, oh, well, my agent will do, and people have just been. I have such a nice, diverse group of other actors, and we read in for each other. And now I have a acting scene study class, like kind of like the one in LA that I go into. Whenever I'm kind of in the right headspace, I don't have a ton of auditions just to keep busy and just keep meeting like. I do miss, I don't know any casting people, and I started going, which initially I really was resistant to that casting director workshop because it made me, like, I'm paying to meet you. There used to be something called general auditions, and when casting people were free, they would go call up different agents and go, oh, who do you have for me to meet? Like that was part of, they wanted to
put them in the portfolio when something comes up.
Know what was happening, and I mean, I feel kind of badly for casting people. I don't know what they've turned into agents. Every deal I get is a deal. Like agents aren't negotiating deal. They're like, here's what we're paying you. Don't audition for this if you're not okay with it.
Cool.
So you're like, maybe that happens, when I get back in, and I start getting in my in my prime again. But it is like, so those are the things that are I like the community, and I feel people, and everybody does. It's not like it used to be. If you were acting and you did other things, people would be like, oh, and here everybody's doing something else. Everybody has something going on, which is just nice.
And I think like it's something that we promote in the school as well. The community of practice is so important, whether you're a performer or a filmmaker or a writer, and actually it's so generative and it enriches your creativity. Thank you so much. Okay, we're going to go on to the pearls.
Oh, Jesus, I'm feeling a lot of pressure about my pearls.
So, don't worry, you've already said so many incredibly useful things for the listeners. So, of course, the people who are, the millions of people who shall be listening to this podcast, you know, our objective as an organisation, as an education institution, to support our academic community into the screen industries. So, what's your piece of advice?
What's my piece of advice? Well, first of all, the thing that I learned from the younger people that I'm meeting, and they make me feel excited again about being in the industry, because I've never been. I don't know, when I was younger, I met a lot of older people who'd be like, well, good luck with that, and, you know, you better be resilient, and this is a tough business, and you're like, yeah. So I am excited for the enthusiasm that you can have when you're first starting out, and that I still maintain a high idealistic kind of vision of what can be. And so I think the most important thing that I wish that I had more confidence when I was younger is to figure out what was unique about me and what I had to say, and be confident enough to say that.
Yeah.
And I do think I was always looking for community and like-minded people, and people that I could be excited about creating with. And I think that is such an important piece of
the network,
business.
the creative network.
And it's not about like that thing where, I mean, and that is a bit, when in Los Angeles, it was always about you'd be somewhere and people would be talking to you and, like, looking over your shoulder. Yeah. It's like, they say be nice to the people on your way up, because and on your way, because you'll see them on your way down.
Exactly.
And I do just think about being a kind, decent person, and not just, being for yourself. And that's what, like I said, finding, I love that. And I love anybody that I can help or is interested. Most of my words of wisdom, I'm really telling them to myself. Yeah. I'm like, okay, this is fine. I've been rejected, and I still love this. And it wasn't me. It wasn't personal. Yeah. And there's only one person for the job. So it's just about, staying positive and not just waiting for that opportunity. Yeah. But really seeking out. If you're a filmmaker, you can do stuff with a phone and your friends, and just create content. Yeah. But
everyone's got the tool in their pocket, right, to do something, and actually utilize that. I mean, you so practice what you preach in terms of your energy, your positivity, everything that you're talking about today. It's really inspirational. Thank you for that. And then my final question for you is. Sort of looking at the screen industries now, we talk about challenges, that we know that there's technological changes and all these kinds of things, but is there anything that you look at in terms of the kinds of content being created, kind of films being created, or the projects that are, or maybe even emergent technology, that you're really excited about, actually, and that you think that's going to be super beneficial for you and for upcoming sort of like screen performers?
Well, I think I was very convinced that film was kind of dead, and that TV was the way to go, and the television that I've been watching for the last few years is what excites me the most. Yeah. But then I was invited this last autumn to be on the jury at a film festival.
Oh, cool.
That a friend of mine that I had gone to in the 90s. Yeah. And we stayed in touch, and he invited me back to be on the jury of the short film jury. Yeah. And I was kind of going like, this will be interesting. And I don't really like watch short films. I've acted in a couple, and they're usually, I'm kind of like, they're making them to try to make a feature. Or I'm like, what is the point of this? Yeah. And so I was kind of going in going like, I'm on the short film. This will be interesting. And I had the best. It's called the Oldenburg Film Festival. Okay, cool. I didn't say it. And I had the best week of my life. Wow. And the Torsten Neumann, who is the festival director, he has kept it independent, and he is what he's really looking for is first-time filmmakers and filmmakers who are making things that they're willing to like potentially fail, and they're not perfect films,
but they're taking some chances.
But they're just like every single. I watched 13 shorts, and they were all like the ones that really all of them were good, which I was like relief. But the ones that were told a personal story, and that it was just their story, and they were so effective, whether it was making me laugh or cry or whatever it was. So I came out of there, and also at the film festival, all the filmmakers who have films there, they really keep everybody together. So I hooked, that's not the right word. That's really wrong. I met a lot of Irish filmmakers. They featured a bunch of Irish films at the festival. And they were all making like their first films, and then I met people from Colombia and all over, and it was just like they were so excited about what they were doing that they made me feel excited about film again, and like their films, they just had something, they had heart, and they were like they had to tell these stories, and it made me feel hopeful again. And I left there and I was just like, I want to write something. I want to make something. I want to be, like I want to be doing that and contribute to that. So now I'm going to direct a short film.
Oh wow!
Yes, I don't want to do feature. Features I did like 5 years of your life, but I want to do I have some stories that I want to tell. And then one of the actors there had the short film they wrote, and they said, "Can you read it and help me with it?" And I was just like, I love this. I have a vision, and I want to. I'd love to direct it. Is that, I understand if you don't. She's like, no, that would be amazing. So it was just that whole experience gave me an excitement about the future of film, which I hope that, you bring to your students here. No pressure.
But I think that's a really great thing to hear, because actually our stock and trade is short films. That's what we do at Central Film School, and actually more and more where short films in the past were really about creating a calling card, right? That's what people would start off, or it's a proof of concept or something like that. And actually there's organizations like Minute Shorts and others that are actually looking at really letting shorts sing as an art form in their own right, and that's a really exciting thing. And if you want to collaborate on that short, you call me, because we've got some of the tools and things that might be able to support you.
That's what I'm saying. Like I think that's what it was. I had this. I think it was what you said. Like this is, and how's your feature? Are you developing a feature from this? But sometimes like to have a story that is just contained that can say something. I think 12 to 18 minutes was my. Things that were shorter sometimes were one, like a boom.
A scene, one beat
kind
of
boom,
thing.
Which is fine too. Comedy works better, I think, with something like that. But to be able to just tell like a little contained piece of something that is special to you or fun or whatever it is, but that is it is definitely the personal stories that resonated for all of us when we were watching them. So.
Okay, listeners, so keep making your short films. You heard it here first. Thank you so much for your time. It's been an absolute pleasure speaking with you today. So many wonderful things, and I'm so excited to see what you do next.
Oh, thank you. I don't know. I'm staying open. So that's another thing that I would just say. I'm just keeping myself open to the universe. I have no idea. This is, what comes into it. I'm just paying attention. So that's always a good thing to do.
And that's a beautiful way to finish our podcast for today. Thank you so much.
Pleasure.